is Starry Ari's ASMR. I am Ari, and today I would like to do some coloring, and I have this color by number image of a stocking. I thought that this would be pretty fun and fairly satisfying, just finding all of the numbers and filling them in. I also have this delicious candle off to the side over here. This is really pretty white textured glass, and it smells delicious. So let's go ahead and get started with our stocking. I have my coloring pencils on either side here. I have these ones that are lots of purples and blues and greens. I have these ones here which are pinks and reds and yellows. And this one here has our darker black and browns, grays, dark blues, and purples. So these will be the ones that I'm dipping into today. So the first color, number 1, is yellow. I want to choose just this regular yellow. And let's just go ahead and get started. So the first one I see is down here. I haven't done a color by number, probably since I was in elementary school, which has been many years now. So don't know how much of the coloring sounds you're going to hear, but I'm hoping that the slow visuals and kind of the back and forth motions are at least relaxing for you. And I guess we could get creative and do like different shades of each color, but I think for this picture I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to kind of grab one color and go from there. I hope that you're having a nice, relaxing winter and holiday season. My family does celebrate Christmas, so I am excited for that. My husband's family also celebrates Christmas, but he grew up also with just a few Hanukkah traditions from his dad's side of the family. So that was really interesting when we got together. They don't do really too much, but just kind of learning some of the traditions and practices. But his family primarily celebrates Christmas. Okay, so that's all the ones that I see kind of down here. Let's kind of fill out this one up here. I mentioned in my last coloring video, but I just realized that I think I forgot to mention it at the beginning of this one. But I get these coloring sheets from Crayola. They have on their website a bunch of different designs, and they're all free to print. So that is where I got these sheets. And they tend to have kind of a wide range. I think that they have some, kind of more aimed at younger kids, things like this. And they also have some really interesting, like aimed at adults coloring pages. So I definitely recommend giving them a look if you're interested in coloring but don't really want to spend the money on an adult coloring book. I also like to print these out on cardstock. So this is kind of a bit of a thicker paper than just regular printer paper. And I think that's just kind of nice, especially if I end up coloring with markers. I tend to color with coloring pencils because it's just what I have. I don't really have nice coloring markers, but if I do color with markers, it is nice having a thicker paper like this so that I'm not as worried about the marker bleeding through. Okay. Now I think that is all of the number ones that I see. Again, I might end up missing one or two numbers, but that's okay. We can always go back at the end and fill them in. So we've done that one there. So let's move on to number 2, which is blue. I think I want to do maybe let's do this sky blue. Here. And that's number 2. We don't have colorful stockings. We just have the felt red stocking with the white trim, which I like. I think that they are a very just kind of classic look, very simple. But then we do a little stocking tag. So my husband and I have our initials hanging on our stockings. And then we also have a stocking for our dog. I think that she really could not care less that she has a stocking, but I think that it is cute, so we have one hanging. Because I do not have children yet, our Christmases, I think, are pretty calm and low-key. We usually travel and spend time with my husband's family first, and then usually either the night of Christmas Eve or the morning of Christmas Day, we switch and we go spend some time with my family. And then usually we just kind of have a very calm Christmas celebration with each family. Neither of our parents have grandchildren yet, so we don't have any nieces or nephews. So usually Christmas is just kind of all of us hanging out and playing board games. We do exchange gifts, but usually we kind of try and keep it pretty, calm. And my husband and I do fill stockings for each other. And then usually before we travel, we do our own mini Christmas where we each kind of open our own stocking. And usually it's just kind of something small, like we get each other's, favorite candy or some little knickknacks or something that we know they would enjoy. My husband really likes decks of cards, and he has a lot of really interesting designs. So usually each year I am able to pick him up one that he doesn't have. So that's kind of an example of something that we might put in the stocking. Small gifts like that. And then usually each year we tend to decide on a collaborative gift for each other. And that might look a little bit different. Some years that has been a new gaming console. Like if there was a new one that we're really interested in, we kind of buy that, and that is our Christmas gift to each other. Or other years, we've done little mini getaways. Like we book a little mini getaway, and it doesn't always have to be right at Christmas time. Like for example, this year we are going to Leavenworth, Washington in January, and neither of us have been, and we are very excited about that. So that was our Christmas gift to each other. And we really enjoy doing things like that because it takes a lot of the pressure off of, gifts for each other, but also it's just nice to do things together. So we really enjoy experience gifts. And so it's nice when we can plan that together. we do still get stockings from our parents as well, even though all of us and all of our siblings, we are all adults, but our parents still like doing stockings, and I don't mind because I think it's really nostalgic, and we usually get some of the regular stocking items that we used to get when we were kids. Like my family, we always got chocolate oranges in our stocking. So each year we kind of expect that we'll probably have a chocolate orange in our stocking. We also would usually get peppermint sticks and those plastic candy canes that are like filled with other candies. We would usually get the M&M versions of those, which I loved. Growing up, we never did Christmas crackers, and I had actually never even heard of them until I visited my husband's family for the first Christmas that we were together, and they did Christmas crackers, and I just never really knew what they were a thing. I think it's interesting to have so many little family traditions like that, that each family just kind of has their own things that they do that just seems so just like a given. Like, of course, you do this thing. But then when you kind of get insight into how other people celebrate that same holiday, and usually it's a little bit different. I have a really hard time thinking about things to say. As I've mentioned before, I am usually not somebody that talks to myself, and it's just not something that I do naturally, which I know some people will find really hard to believe. But it's hard for me to remember to say stuff sometimes when I'm filming. And for a long video like this, I think it is nice to have some moments of quiet. I at least personally enjoy that in videos that I watch, because I think that those tend to be moments where I most often fall asleep. have no idea how long this is gonna end up being. But I don't mind just kind of sitting here for a while, coloring, having fun. Alright, so I think that we are done with the number 2. Let's go ahead and grab a green for number 3. I think I want this one. This is called grass green. And let's go ahead and fill in these green sections. I think that we are almost done with our holiday movie list. Every year we kind of have like our general must-watch movies, and I think that we've just about watched everything on it. I think I mentioned in my Thanksgiving coloring video that I had cheated a bit and I watched a movie before, a holiday movie, before Thanksgiving was over, which I usually do not like to do, but I watched Klaus in November, and I had the idea that I would do that, and then I would be able to re-watch it when it got closer to Christmas time, because then it would have been like over a month since the last time I had seen it. But Klaus has honestly become one of my favorite holiday movies. It's on Netflix if you haven't seen it. And it is about this kind of like entitled, spoiled postman. And he is sent to this really remote town where there are some feuding families, and his goal ultimately is to try and get them to send mail, and he ends up coming up with a scheme to do that, and it is kind of like an origin of Santa Claus story. And I think that it is just really sweet, and every year when I watch this, I think to myself, there are certain moments in this movie where I think to myself, like, I know what's coming, I know what happens, I know the background, I'm not gonna cry, and then I end up crying. I used to not cry very much at movies at all, and for some reason lately, the last few years, as I get older, I just can't turn it off as easily as I used to be able to. So I really enjoy that movie. I think that one's just a really fun. I think that the design, the art design is really interesting, and the story is just really cute. So I will be rewatching that one. And then usually we save like the classic, like old Rudolph or Frosty the Snowman ones. Like we usually save those for actual Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. And we usually just kind of put those on in the background while we're all just hanging out. So we haven't watched those ones yet. I'm also curious if anyone watches like Nightmare Before Christmas at Christmas time. I usually watch it around Halloween and not Christmas. But I think that you could honestly do both or either. I feel like there's another one like that. Oh, Edward Scissorhands. It's another one that I think that I usually tend to watch that around Halloween as well. I certainly did this year. But I think that you could consider it a holiday film because some parts of it, take place in the winter. Also, we noticed that um, a lot of streaming services will, like curate movies that they think that you might want to watch. Like they have like a holiday section, and we noticed, I forget which streaming service has Harry Potter, but whichever one does, they were putting Harry Potter in the holiday movie section. And I thought that was really interesting because I don't know if maybe people tend to just watch the Harry Potter films during the holidays, and I know that's another of those series where like they do have like holidays in the movies like each year, but it also like it follows the entire school year. So I don't know that I would specifically consider them like in the holiday season. But I don't know. I was like a little curious about that. My husband and I were kind of chatting. And, like maybe a lot of people just tend to watch them around the holidays, and maybe we're the weird ones. Okay, let's do this one over here. Sometimes I have to laugh when I sit down to film videos. It's like the neighborhood comes alive with noises. I think I do a generally pretty okay job of editing things out to the best of my ability. Sometimes it's just kind of a little bit too far for my sound editing abilities. I am not a sound engineer by any means. So sometimes I'm not quite able to clean it up, but like right now it is pretty rainy and 36 degrees outside, which I'm kind of bitter about. I think that if it's in the 30s, I would like it to be snowing and not rainy, but I digress. So it is pretty cold, pretty rainy, and we have a neighbor that thinks that this is a lovely time to do yard work. Maybe, you know what, I am judging a little bit, but maybe I need to bring that back. Maybe this is like the only time that they can do the yard work. Or maybe they have like friends or family visiting that are like driving them crazy and they just need to go outside and do something. Who knows? I'll try and reserve my judgment, but in terms of ASMR videos, it's a little bit annoying. Okay, so I've done these stripes of green. I don't think that there's any green here or in here, but I do see a 3 on this one. This is kind of satisfying doing the color by number, like not really having to think about what color I'm gonna do. And I mean, it's just coloring, so it's not like I would be stressing about it too much anyways, but sometimes it's sad when you think you have a vision for a picture and then it doesn't quite come out right. Okay, I think that might be all of the 3s. Oh, I just noticed this 2 over here that I missed. So let's put the green away. I am going to grab the sky blue real quick and fill in this little 2. Hopefully you didn't notice that. Although it's a pretty big piece of like candy or something. So I don't know how I missed it. Okay. Think that hopefully that is all of the 2s this time. Alright, so let's move on to number 4, and that is red. And we have a color here that is just called red, so I'm going to go with it. And I think I'm going to start with the same thing as the green. I'm going to do these stripes. the other day we drove around and did our usual tradition of looking at Christmas lights. And usually we try and find like the wealthiest neighborhood, like where we live. And because we're living in a new place this year, we didn't really know where that was. So I don't think that we quite found it, but we did find some nice neighborhoods and some families that really went all out with their holiday lights on their houses, so it was still a good time. But the last place that we lived had some like really, really high end neighborhoods, and of course we know that like the richest, like wealthiest neighborhoods are probably not open access to the public. Like a lot of them are behind gates. But it was always fun just kind of driving through and finding properties where you are pretty sure that they hire people to do their Christmas displays and to do the lights on their houses, which for both my husband and I and our background, that was never something that our families could have afforded to do. We always did our own Christmas lights, as I think that most people do. And luckily, I had brothers growing up, so usually they were the ones that were roped in to helping my dad hang our Christmas lights on the house. And I was usually able to stay comfy and cozy inside and help my mom decorate inside. But my husband, being one of the boys in his family, did have to help do that job. And he, I want to say, is scarred by it. His parents also really, really love decorating, and so they would really go all out with the lights on their outside of the property. we haven't quite had a full dusting of snow yet, which I'm really hanging out for. I love snow, and our temperatures keep dropping overnight, but then it clears up, like it's dropping because it's nice and clear. And then when it's really cloudy and we have some rain, it keeps like slightly warming up just above freezing. So we never quite get any snow. But then it's just like it's miserable because it's still really cold. But well, for us, like, you know, being in the 30s or dipping into the 20s is like pretty cold for where we're at. But then you don't get like the lovely, joyful snow. You just kind of end up with sad rain and ice. So I have heard from a few people that live here that January is usually the time where we get snow here. So I'm really holding out hope for that. I think it's pretty much a given that we'll get some snow. And we have had a little bit, but none of it's really stuck where we're at. My husband and I have tried a few new baking items this season because we wanted to bake some goodies before we visited our family so that we could bring a little treat box with us. And we tried this. I don't even really know what it would be called, but it is like a base layer of graham crackers, and then you pour toffee, so like butter and sugar, but you make it into a nice toffee, and then you put chocolate and marshmallows on top, and it all kind of like melts together. And I assume that there's probably a given name. I think that I've seen this treat. Like, I think that this isn't like a groundbreaking treat that we made. I've seen it at like holiday potlucks and stuff like that, but I don't know generally what it is called. But we made that, and that turned out really good. We were kind of like testing the recipe, and so we think that we're gonna make another batch of that, like an actual full batch, to bring that with us. And then we also found Andy's Mints. They made like a baking chocolate chip with like the Andy's Mint flavor. And I love Andy's Mint. So we think that we're gonna try and make some like chocolate mint cookies before we go. And we haven't experimented with that at all. And I imagine it's gonna be easy enough. We didn't really feel the need to make an extra batch just to make sure that we were happy with it. And it'll be kind of hard to go wrong with chocolate mint cookies, so I am excited for those. And it's nice being able to bake items like right before we're traveling so that, you know, we can try some really yummy, delicious baked goods, but also like it's just my husband and I, so we don't need an entire batch of cookies or holiday sweets, so we're able to, you know, bring them with us and share them with our friends and family. So that's always pretty nice. Just forgot this little fork here. There we go. And oh, these little forks. These cute little hearts. Okay. I think that is all of the red. Let's go ahead and put the red back. And let's move on to number 5, which is purple. I have a color here. That's grape purple. And this one is amethyst. I think I'm gonna go with this one. Yeah, that's like the exact purple I had in mind. one is definitely turning out to be that really bright, vibrant picture that I wanted, which I'm happy about. I would like to get some nice coloring markers. Like I was saying, I don't really have any nice ones. I'm just gonna have the basic like Crayola markers, which are okay. But, there's some really fancy ones out there. I hope that you have enjoyed some of my recent videos. I recently put out a haul video, which I love hauls and show and tells. So that was fun to kind of be on the other side of the camera and do that. I also did a kind of a video game show and tell, but so I did one a few weeks ago that was physical video games, but I have also played a lot of video games on Game Pass, which is all digital, and so I really wanted to talk about the games that I played on Game Pass, but I couldn't quite figure out how I wanted to do that. Everything that I was coming up with just wasn't quite working. I didn't want to do like a screen share of my Game Pass screen, and it's just kind of boring. And so I came up with the idea to print off the title images for each game so that I had something physical to look at, and then slid each one into a like an empty CD case and talk about each one that way. And I had a really fun time making that video because I love playing a lot of different games, and I think that I played some really fun ones this year and found some great ones that are now in like my favorite list, like my favorite of all time list. I don't have an official list, it's just the running list in my head. I'm pretty close to the end now. I think that I just got maybe one more 5 to fill in. I think that this one. Okay, I think that might be all of the 5s. So I'm going to put away this purple. And then the last color is number 6, and it is an orange. I have some good oranges here. I think what I'm going to do is orange called pumpkin. It is just kind of like the perfect orange color. I really enjoy coloring. I think that it is very satisfying and also just a nice way to kind of zone out a bit and not really think about anything in particular. And it's nice to have an activity like this that isn't really designated by a screen. I think that it's really nice to just kind of give our eyes a break every now and then, and I am certainly somebody that uses my phone way too much. I think that I tend to use it as a crutch sometimes. Like if I'm bored or something, I just kind of open my phone and find something to do. And this is, an activity, so it's not like I'm just sitting here being bored, but it's something that's kind of like engaging my brain in a little bit of a different way. So I think that's kind of nice to have moments like that. This is probably not a very relaxing topic, but I really enjoy keeping up with certain social research. And so I studied sociology quite a bit in college, and it's what I majored in. And so I am a huge nerd for sociological papers and interesting studies, and then I was working in community health for a while, and so looking at how certain things impact the health of a population, I think is really fascinating. And I saw a study on screen time for children, and I don't think that this was like a particularly new study. I don't recall exactly when it came out, and I'd love to kind of look at this a little bit more, but it was looking at childhood development and the impact that screens may have. And there were some really interesting takeaways, and particularly one that I thought was the most interesting was that they looked at the different types of screens. And so they were looking at things like phone screens versus a tablet versus a TV. So kind of looking at the different types of screens that a child might interact with. And they generally found that children that were consuming media strictly on a tablet or a cell phone had certain, I don't remember exactly how they phrased it. I wish that I did. I'm just kind of like randomly rambling about this study, so maybe don't quote everything that I say. But they had found that the kids that engaged with media in those ways were a bit more closed off to their environments while they were engaging with the media. Whereas children that were watching these same types of things, so let's say like if a kid pulled up, or hopefully if their parent pulled up a video for them to watch on YouTube, something that was educational and engaging, if they pulled that up on their phone, the researchers found that the children were lacking in certain like social cues and primarily just not engaging in their environment as much. And when that same media was pulled up on a television, the child would still tend to engage and interact with their environment. So they were kind of looking at this as, is the child like glued to the screen versus are they still being active? Are they, running around the living room? Are they coloring while they're watching something? Or are they, is it something that you have in the background? And they generally found that it was better for the child to watch something on the television than for them to watch it on a tablet or a phone, which I thought was really, really interesting. And it kind of makes sense, right? Like if you are watching something on your phone or your tablet, like you're frequently like holding it. And so I have some friends with really young kids, and we've talked about this generally, like it seems really, really difficult nowadays to raise your children without technology at all. And sometimes it is just like if a parent just needs a break, you know? Like, I don't have kids, so it would be really easy for me to sit here and judge people for their parenting choices, but ultimately, I don't have children, so I feel like I don't really have the right to do that in a lot of cases. But we were kind of talking about a time when we were visiting, my husband and I were visiting, and they have a few young kids, and while we were visiting, they had the show Bluey in the background on the TV, and the kid was still so happy, like they were sprinting around and like playing and talking with us and engaging, but still like paying attention to their show, versus when they were watching it on their tablet. They had their tablet like 3 inches from their face, and they were just kind of like sitting on the couch and not really, you know, running around like they were before. So I think that that's really like an interesting study, and I love learning about things like that, and I'd love to see further research on that, because technology is certainly not going anywhere, and I think that if we can equip people with the best, you know, usage and tools to be able to still interact with it, but in better ways, I think that that is really great. I don't even recall how I got on that tangent. Oh, like coloring instead of like being on my phone. Yeah, that was a really random tangent. I really enjoy keeping up with research like that, though. There's some really interesting stuff going on. I think childhood development research in particular is really fascinating. I minored in psychology, and I took quite a few development courses. Like, there was one specific childhood psychology development, and that one was really fascinating. And then I also took just a general development class, which was like physiology development, which I thought was fascinating, because I studied a lot of different stuff when I was in college. But the state that I grew up in had kind of like an advanced, I don't know exactly what they're called, but there's a program where you can take college courses while you're in high school and get your associate's degree. And I did that and got my associate's in biology. So I had a lot of classes in biology. I took a lot of classes in psychology once I got actually into college, and I really just enjoyed learning about a lot of different things. So I also took a lot of anthropology classes, and so I have an anthropology minor as well. It ended up that I just was taking so many of these classes. I took so many anthropology and psychology classes because I found them really fascinating. And I ended up realizing, like, oh, I only needed, you know, like one more class or something to get the minor. So I just did it. Okay, I think let's kind of take a look. I think that is everything on this picture. So it is very, very colorful. And there are some sections left white, but that is purposeful. But I hope that you enjoyed this video, hanging out with me for a bit. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have a wonderful